Episode 8 of Yellowjackets just dropped and it was quite the episode, so let's do a little breakdown. I'm Pamela, welcome back to the channel. Episode 8 of Yellowjackets was called A Normal Boring Life, and it opens up with teen Shauna working at a supermarket, and Jackie is there, so obviously we know this is some kind of vision, and Jackie is sort of taunting her the way that she always does. She says, "Your life didn't really pan out, so much potential, so little to show for it." And Shauna is like scanning food items and they turn out to be body parts. Shauna says to Jackie, "Stop calling me shipment, I hate it." Jackie says, "Since when?" Shauna says, "Since always." And Jackie says, "Why didn't you say anything?" So I think this just goes to show that Shauna always kept her mouth shut when it came to Jackie. And Shauna says, "Is this really what my life's gonna be like?" And the lights glitch and we can see that there are a bunch of bugs in the light. And Jackie says they're drawn to the light. Should have known better, don't you think? And then adult Shauna wakes up in her car, so obviously this was just a dream. She grabs the knife, hides it up her sleeve, and creeps into the house. We know from the last episode that she ditched the rest of the girls at the hospital, drove to someone's house who we assumed was Alex. So Shauna makes her way into the house, sneaks in. There's a bunch of kids' drawings hanging up, and we hear laughter from upstairs, and Shauna hides. And then we find out that Melissa, sure enough, is alive, and she's married to Alex. Alex is the daughter of Hannah, the frog researcher from the wilderness who they killed. As soon as I saw the backwards cap, I'm like, yep, that's Melissa. So Melissa and Alex are married and they have a kid. Alex leaves with the kid and Melissa senses that someone is hiding in the pantry. And she says, "Come out right now. You have no idea whose house you just walked into." And Shauna comes out and says, "Actually, I do, Melissa. Or is it Kelly now?" So Melissa is living her life under an alias. Melissa says, "Shauna, what are you doing here?" And Shauna says, "What are you doing alive?" So yeah, we learn in the previous episode that the rest of the girls think that Melissa is dead. And I was thinking that Shauna knew that she's alive and she was keeping it a secret from the rest of the girls, but we learned in this episode that Shauna had no idea Melissa was alive as well. Shauna and Melissa both have knives in their hand, and Shauna wants Melissa to put it down, but Melissa says, "I'm not going to talk to you with a knife in your hand and no knife in mine. Let's talk like sane adults," and both put the knife down. And Shauna says, "Sane? Like marrying the daughter of the woman we killed?" And Melissa says, "A lot happened in the last 25 years. Honestly, this is so crazy that Melissa is alive. A lot of us felt like she was. I feel like they were planting the seeds pretty much since episode 1 or 2 of this season. And then Misty calls Shauna from the hospital. She says, "Fuck you, come back here right now." But Shauna's ignoring Misty's calls, and the doctor says to Ty, "There's nothing more we can do for Van. Think about palliative care or hospice." And Ty's having a hard time accepting that. She wants to see Van, but she's under sedation right now. Misty says to her, "Sorry, is there anything I can do?" And Ty says, "Help me find the palliative care unit." Misty says, "I thought you didn't want her transferred there." And Ty's like, "I don't." And they hurry off. And immediately I'm like, okay, Ty's gonna kill someone there. We do know from one of the season 3 trailers that Ty attempts to smother an old man with a pillow. I mean, we know this whole season Ty wants sacrifice to save Van's life. And in this moment, I'm thinking, at least she's gonna kill someone who's already dying, who doesn't have that much time left. It's better than killing an innocent man like she kind of attempted to in New York City. She was following this man who, has kids. So this is a better option. Then we are back in the teen timeline and Misty's kind of lost. She can't see anything, she's calling out for everyone else. Last time we see her, Kodiak shot at her and her glasses fell off. And she found them in this episode, but they're cracked. And like I pointed out in my last breakdown, this is another reason that we know we're getting closer to the Pit Girl scene, because in Pit Girl scene, Misty has cracked glasses. And then Cody, Travis, and Akilah are crossing over a log over the water. Cody says, "Pretty rough hike to the pickup point. Are you guys ready for that?" Travis says, "Don't worry about that." Akilah says to Travis, "We should get the others." And Travis is like, "There's no time." Akilah feels like they all should be doing this together. She says it doesn't feel right. Travis says, "What doesn't feel right about getting back to civilization and sending back rescue. So Travis just wants to get the hell out of there now and send rescue back for the rest of the girls. Maybe he knows deep down that like some of them might not want to go home, or he's just worried that the rest of the girls are going to kill Cody because they don't want witnesses. And Travis is like, I just gotta get the hell out of here. AKILAH says, we're not all here. Ben was supposed to be our way home. And Travis admits to AKILAH the truth that he's been hiding pretty much the whole season. He said, AKILAH, you had a fucked up dream from huffing cave fumes, same way I did because of the mushrooms. You're not a prophet. I didn't pick you as seer because I had a vision. I made all of this up, and I think deep down you know that. But what is real is he can get us home, so let's go. And AKILAH tags a tree so that the rest of the girls can find them, and of course Misty sees it. And then we see that the rest of the girls have Hannah tied up to one of the airplane seats. They're all asking her questions. Ty says, what day is it? Melissa asks her, can you get us out of here? Shauna's like, where are we? And Van's question was so funny. She says, do Mulder and Scully get together? And I had said to you guys in my promo breakdown for this episode, like I was kind of hoping that we would get a scene like this where the girls ask questions that they should be asking, like where are we? But also funny ones that typical teen girls would want to know. Natalie tells everyone, shut up and let her answer. And they ask Hannah, what are you doing here? And Hannah says, we're frog researchers. Maybe you've heard their mating call. But the girls cut her off. So we learned in the previous episode that this screeching that the girls have been hearing coming from the wilderness, you know, they think it's the wilderness talking to them, but it's just the frogs and their mating call. But the girls don't even learn the truth in this episode because they cut off Hannah. And Shauna also asks Hannah, what are people saying about us back home? Hannah says, who are you? And they tell her, you know, we're the soccer team. Ty says, is anyone still searching for us? And Hannah says, I don't know. They searched for months. All the girls are like, you gotta be kidding me. Van says, we've been out here a long time. And Shauna says, so you're saying they just gave up our friends and family? And Hannah's like, I really don't know. Natalie says, you can get us back though, right? Hannah says, I don't even know where I am right now. And Shauna tells her, you don't seem to know a lot of things. Hannah asks her, are you like the captain of the team? Natalie's like, she's not the captain. Shauna says, neither are you. And Natalie says, yeah, because she's fucking dead. And then Hannah's telling them how impressive it is that they all built, you know, this whole little village for themselves. And Hannah tells them, you know, I can get you out of here, but not by myself. She needs Cody because Cody is the guide. And Misty runs back to them and says that she found Cody, AKILAH, and Travis. And then we see Jeff and Callie having dinner together. And Jeff sees the guys that he tried to do business with earlier in the season, but Shauna messed up their business meeting at dinner. And Jeff was like, oh, it's the Joels. Technically only one of them is named Joel, which is so funny. Like Shauna called them the Joels because they're just like, I don't know, these bland, predictable guys. And Jeff wants to take another swing at the business deal, but they say we're going in a different direction. And Jeff's like, not furniture, fam. Jeff is so funny. I was hoping that we would see some more of him before the season is over, and we got a good amount of Jeff in this episode, and he was pretty funny in all of his scenes. And then Misty calls Jeff and says, have you heard from Shauna? Jeff's like, no, I thought she was with you. Misty says, no, she ditched us at the hospital. And she asks Jeff, where was Shauna the day Lottie died? Jeff's like, we were with you and the bingo ladies. Misty says she was there the entire day. And Jeff's like, what has Shauna done now? And then we are back with Melissa and Shauna. Melissa's like, you could have rang the doorbell like a normal person. Shauna says, I didn't even know that you lived here or that you're alive. How are you alive? Because we all went to your funeral. And Melissa says, it turns out if you leave a suicide note, even without the body, cops will take the easy way out. So that is insane that Melissa literally faked her death. I wonder at what point did she do this? Like, how long after they got back? Was it like immediately when they were still technically teenagers, or was it years later when she was more of an adult? And Shauna asks her why she faked her death, and Melissa's like, come on, Shauna. And Shauna says, are you still in love with me? And Melissa's like, oh my god, no, I'm not still in love with you. Honestly, I never was. Want to know why I did it? I had no choice. When we made it back, I was no longer one of you, and you scared the absolute shit out of me. Melissa's phone rings, but Shauna doesn't let her answer it. She asks Shauna, why are you here? And Shauna says, why are you messing with me? And She pulls out the tape that Melissa left for Shauna at her house. Melissa reveals that Hannah told me where it was, where to find the tape, and I promised I'd give it to her daughter if I ever made it back home. But we find out that she never actually gave the tape to Alex. She says if anyone heard what was on it, it wouldn't have been good, and it wouldn't have done any good for Alex to hear the truth. Shauna says, so you married her instead? Melissa says, I love her. This is real. This isn't some messed up version of survival's guilt. Well, maybe it is. She says that she checked on Alex for years to make sure she was okay, but then they met for real. And Melissa also lets Shauna know that she has a good life, a good job, she goes to church. Shauna's like, none of that matters to me, and makes her sit down. And then we are back with Akilah, Travis, and Cody. Akilah is like sitting down pretending to get a rock out of her shoe, and she hears rustling, so she knows that the girls are here. That was her intention, she tagged the tree because she didn't want to go home with Travis and Cody without leaving the rest of the girls. So Akilah turns the gun to Travis and Cody, and the girls emerge from the bushes. Cody lies and says, there's more of us out here. And Van says, no there isn't, we saw your camp, there's only 3 sleeping bags. And then Travis turns on Cody with the rest of the girls, probably because he knows these crazy ass bitches would kill him. So they tie up Cody too. The girls ask Travis, where were you going? Were you gonna leave us? And Travis says, I thought it would be easier with a smaller group. And Akilah kind of backs him up a little bit in this moment. And Cody says it'll take 6 days to get to the rescue point. And Natalie tells everyone to pack enough stuff for 6 days. Shauna's like, you're not in charge anymore. And Natalie's like, it's fucking rescue. Like, we should not be arguing at this point who's in charge. I mean, if we're going home, it doesn't even matter who's the leader anymore because this society should be crumbling because we're going home. And then Misty is obviously concerned. She questions what happens afterwards. What if they tell people what they saw? And Cody says, hey, I didn't see shit. And Hannah says, well, say whatever you want us to say, I swear to God. And Shauna says, that means nothing out here. So that just goes to show that, out here in the wilderness, God meant absolutely nothing to them. The wilderness was their God. Natalie is excited to go home, and Lottie says we can't go home, we don't belong there anymore. And Natalie says, why should we listen to you? Honestly, this delivery of that line was very Juliette Lewis. I loved it. Back in the adult timeline, Shauna and Melissa are still talking. Shauna says, if you're so worried about me ruining your perfect little life, why send me the tape? Melissa says, because it was haunting me. I hadn't thought about the tape in years. I had it locked away in some safety deposit box. It was my leverage in case you came looking for me. Shauna's like, why would we come for you? Melissa says, why would Lottie create a cult? Why would you guys start sacrifices again? Shauna's like, I didn't join a cult and it's more of a community, but that doesn't matter. Melissa says Natalie died there and some other cop. Melissa reveals that one day she just stopped sleeping. She started having these horrible nightmares and then they start happening during the day. And her therapist said that she was holding on to something she had to let go. So the day of Natalie's funeral, she left the tape at Shauna's house so that Shauna could let go too. And Shauna says, bullshit. How can it be anything but a threat? And Melissa says this was all in the note that I left with the tape. And Shauna never got the letter. I'm assuming Callie took it. Callie kept it. We know that Callie is suspicious of Shauna and doesn't like that her mom is keeping these secrets. Callie's starting to think Shauna really is a bad person, so I guess Callie took the letter. We do know that Shauna is going to read it eventually because in the season 3 trailer, we see her reading the letter. And then Shauna blames Melissa for trying to kill her. And she says, my brakes were cut, I was locked in the freezer. And Melissa says that she did not do those things. And just like we find out later in this episode, Jeff thinks the same thing. This is all kind of in Shauna's head. There's, logical explanations for everything that happened to Shauna, but she's paranoid. Shauna says to Melissa, we can make all the pacts and vows of silence, but the only way to truly be safe and certain no one will spill your secrets is to be the only one left. And she also says it's why you killed Lottie, isn't it? So, she's blaming Melissa for Lottie's death, but Melissa didn't even know that Lottie's dead. She says, Lottie's dead too? And then we're back at the hospital with Ty and Misty. Ty's trying to kill somebody to save Van. He's dying anyway. Misty's kind of trying to stop Ty from doing this, but Ty can't actually bring herself to do it. You know, she takes the pillow, tries to smother him, but can't quite do it, and the guy starts flatlining anyway. And Ty kind of starts freaking out, and she's like, what? I didn't do it. Does that count? I thought that part was so funny. And Misty's like, we gotta get the hell out of here. And then Hannah and Cody are burying Edwin because Natalie allowed them to. And all the girls are packing to go home, and they're all kind of like envisioning what they're gonna do when they get home. Like, we see Mari drinking a Slurpee. Misty's picturing that she's on an actual toilet with toilet paper. Van is picturing an actual bed because, you know, they're so close to going home. It's like they can taste it. And then Ty is having some doubts about going home. She says to Van, what if we can't be together when we get back? Because, you know, she thinks the world is not accepting of their relationship. And Ty also says, aren't you worried what we're gonna have to tell people? You know, what we did out here, what happened to Jackie and Javi? We can't trust the scientists. We're gonna have to kill them. Someone could slip up, our futures will be messed up, this will follow us for the rest of our lives. And Van says going home outweighs all of that. And honestly, I could just tell in that moment that this was other Ty. And then we see the man with no eyes once again. Honestly, this is the scariest part of the whole show. Anytime this motherfucker shows up, it gets me every time. And then Shauna and Melissa are in their little hut packing. Shauna asks Melissa, why are you acting weird? And Melissa is upset because Shauna didn't care that she was shot. Shauna says, I knew Jen would stop the bleeding, and I knew you weren't gonna die. I'm the fastest on the team. I wanted to be the person who got the guy who shot you. Melissa doesn't believe her, but Shauna says, I still want to kill him for shooting you. And then Melissa kind of gets over it, and she tells Shauna, I'm excited to go to college, work a normal job. And Shauna sees the bug again that she saw from her vision in the beginning of the episode. So I don't really know what that could symbolize. Does it symbolize like going back to a normal, boring life? We learn later in this episode that Shauna doesn't want to go home. And then we are back with adult Shauna and Melissa. Melissa says she didn't kill Lottie, but Shauna doesn't believe her. Melissa says, my life is normal and boring, exactly how I want it. You really can put the past behind you. Shauna says this isn't normal, it's a lie. You can pretend because you aren't you. And then Callie calls Shauna and Melissa says, does she know what you did, what you're capable of? Shauna says yes. And Melissa says, and she still loves you? Shauna says, yes, she does. And Melissa kind of smiles and says, who's lying now? And we know that Callie leaves Shauna a message and says, I just want to know you're not dead. She also says Dad's freaking out. You know, Jeff's on the phone trying to get a hold of Misty. And he says, freaky little four-eyed mushroom. A lot of funny Jeff moments in this episode. Honestly, he might be the funniest character. So he's on the bed, freaking out, screaming into a pillow. Callie's like, Dad, pull it together. And Callie says, I don't think anyone's after Mom. And Jeff agrees. Stuff doesn't add up. The brake's not working, it's just an old car. Getting stuck in the freezer, you know, it was just an accident. The only one that doesn't quite add up for me is the phone having the ringtone Queen of Hearts, but I don't know, I guess maybe it's just a coincidence. Callie says whatever they did to survive really messed them up. And Jeff tells Callie to pack her things so they can go back home. So back in the wilderness, all the girls are packing and happy, talking about what they're doing when they get home. Even AKILAH is happy, but then she sees that all the animals are dead, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, have they been dead this whole time? But then we quickly find out that they're actually alive, and AKILAH was kind of just hallucinating that. But fans had this theory that what if their living conditions right now are actually worse than the girls see it? Like, what if the animals really are dead? But, you know, we find out that they actually were alive. Natalie goes to the plane and says goodbye to Coach. She says, I'm sorry you didn't make it to this moment. I wish you did. That honestly made me so sad. Like, Coach, you know, was so close to getting rescued. And then Natalie hears something and she says, we're going home. We're leaving whatever you are behind. And then adult Ty goes into Van's hospital room, but then Ty is also outside of the door. So this is, you know, actual Ty and other Ty talking to each other. Actual Ty says, please, I need to see her. And other Ty says, I'm the only one who can help her. You won't do what needs to be done. Back in the wilderness, Natalie is sort of leading in this moment, you know, instructing all of the girls. Natalie says to Hannah and Cody, we're trusting you to get us there safely, and we'll kill you if you try anything else. And Hannah says, we want to go home too. And then Lottie says, I'm staying. Lottie doesn't want to go home. And Natalie says, I know going home is scary. We all kind of gave up on going home, but you know, we gotta go. And Lottie says, what home? If I go back, I won't be well. I won't be me. The me that was made out here. We're safer here. And then Shauna wants to stay too. She says, I'm staying because of you, Lottie. Something just doesn't feel right. And I'm just like, ugh, really, Shauna? Like, come on. And then Ty wants to stay too. And Van and her are arguing. Van is like, Ty, you're not staying. And Ty says that she's feeling what Shauna and Lottie are feeling. Natalie's like, has everyone gone fucking insane? And Travis says what doesn't feel right is staying and ignoring rescue. And Natalie tells them, stay if you want. You all lost your minds. The rest of us are going. And Shauna says, no, you're not. Honestly, Shauna is pissing me off this season. Like, what do you mean they're not going? If you want to be insane and stay, fine. But the rest of the girls have an opportunity to go home. And then Jeff goes to check out of the motel and he's like losing his mind. This scene was so funny, the way he was talking to the woman. And then of course he sees the Joels again and he actually calls them Joels to their face, which was hilarious. And he tells them, my wife ruined our dinner. Not my talent or business. He also says, my wife hasn't been diagnosed as insane, but she is. She's miserable, the reason people don't like anything. But I'm the reason people like things. Don't give up on me. Have you ever fallen in love with an unhinged woman? Or has every woman you've been with been fucking boring? Jeff is like having a mental breakdown. It's so funny. And then we're back with Melissa and Shauna, and Melissa is kind of giving logical explanations for everything that happened to Shauna. She's like, were your brakes messed with, or is your car just old? Did you get locked in the freezer, or did the door just shut? Did someone leave a phone with a popular song? Did Lottie get murdered, or has she just suffered from a lifetime of issues? She also calls out Shauna and says, you hate yourself and you want others to feel just as miserable as you are, which I have to say is pretty true. She also says, did you come here to kill me? I think you came here because you want your life to explode. It excites you and lights you up. You want to burn it all down just so you can watch. And honestly, Melissa is dropping truth bombs. And then Shauna attacks Melissa. She like slices her arm, gets her down on the ground. Melissa fights back a little. She headbutts Shauna. Her nose starts bleeding. Shauna has blood all over her face. And she bites Melissa, of course. That is Shauna's signature move. She's bitten a few people. I think she bit Lottie in season 2 and then Mari in this season. But she bites Melissa and takes out a chunk of skin. And she's trying to make her eat it. This bitch is crazy. And then Shauna says, what the fuck? You really are insane. And Shauna says, eat it or I'll tell your family exactly who you are. Shauna is absolutely insane. She is unhinged, like Jeff said. And that is our entire episode. This was a great episode, honestly. I'm so happy we have confirmation that Melissa is alive. Even though I was expecting it, I was like still shocked in that moment. The fact that Melissa faked her death, it makes me wonder if there could be some other survivors. Maybe Jen goes home with them. In the previous episode, they say how Jen and Melissa both got close to Hannah, but they're both dead. So either Jen dies in the wilderness, or maybe she makes it home and dies once they get home, or faked her death the same way Melissa did. And when it comes to the teens, I was expecting to have there be two groups, one who wants to go home and one who wants to stay, but I'm still surprised that it's happening. Like, how crazy can you be? Honestly, it's kind of hilarious that it's Lottie, Shauna, and Ty who all want to stay, because they are arguably the most insane out of everyone. I mean, we know Lottie has her issues, she's kind of crazy. Ty has the whole other Ty thing going on, she's crazy. And Shauna's just also insane, out of her mind. I wonder if any of the other girls are going to join their group as well, or is it just going to be the three of them? But yeah, things are definitely picking up towards the end of the season. We only have 2 episodes left, and episode 9 is the penultimate episode, and I find that in a lot of TV shows, sometimes the penultimate episode is like even crazier than the finale, so I am super pumped for next week. I have yet to see the promo for episode 9, but definitely stay tuned on the channel because we will be doing a promo breakdown for episode 9. Honestly, so insane that Melissa is married to Alex, Hannah's daughter. I also really hope that Van survives. What do you guys think? Do you think Van is gonna die this season, or is the sacrifice going to work? But that is it for today. Another great episode. Let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment down below. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on future Yellowjackets breakdowns, theories. Please also go follow me over on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And I will see you guys next time.